Around 2018, I began a first draft of a fictional novel centered around different competing prides of lions in the savannah, attempting to dominate each other in order to bring about utopia on Earth, a mirror world to the one they believe existed in the afterlife. One unusual lion began to question this idea, believing there had to be a better way to achieve peace without the need for constant warfare. The end goal I had in mind was to see this story eventually play out on screen for everyone to see. By 2020 I was introduced to the online shooting game Fortnite. Two features caught my attention that sparked my imagination: its creative mode, which allowed you to build maps from scratch, and the replay mode with multiple cameras. With this, I saw the potential to bring stories to life using the video creator software Share Factory. I abandoned the novel and decided to experiment and bring all these tools together. My first attempt was a 5-minute short called 24 Hours Later. This zombie themed piece would provide the basis for Lockjaw the Gingerbread Man, which at the time I had no intention in making into a full-length feature, let alone a trilogy of movies. Lockjaw the Gingerbread Man, the premise of the first film is simple. Set in the distant future, a lone human raised by gingerbread man named Lockjaw would be sent on a quest to find the missing representative of the village, armed with a sword and warned of the dangers of ferocious creatures that swarm the earth. What happened to mankind was left a mystery. It was made on the go, intended to be another short, but by the time Lockjaw arrives in Fuzzville, I had introduced the character Miss Coconuts. Seeing the potential of developing a far larger complex story, I began to introduce the elements and themes from the novel I was originally planning. On the surface, these films appear brain dead and silly at times, reflecting my own sense of humour.
Why would I want this ding-dong dangling between my legs when I could have a fantastic set of tits like you?
But the underlying philosophical and political ideas were introduced that would give more depth to the story and the characters. I wanted to create a set of movies that would contrast with conventional fiction in the ideals and tropes typically put across again and again in today's world that we generally accept without question. Lockjaw represents the typical hero who believes greatness is embodied by engaging in conquest, sacrifice and warfare in order to prove himself and be regarded as a legend in the eyes of others. He's never left his village before, and unprepared for the danger ahead, but quickly accepts the idea of violence as a way of life. These were the ideas my protagonist from the novel had to begin with. Miss Coconuts holds a completely different view of reality, and their interactions start the process of Lockjaw beginning to question things internally. What Miss Coconuts is challenging is the ideal of self-sacrifice. She views it as a tragic and morbid ethical ideal that is incompatible for living in peacetime, a product of a culture rooted in warfare and viewing reality as a constant state of emergency, where individuals are expendable that can and should be willing to sacrifice themselves if necessary to achieve some abstract goal. The premise itself requires the need of endless emergencies and conflicts for a person to hold a sense of purpose and self-worth. Once the citizens of Fuzzville begin to put value on the principle of the freedom to act, in contrast to imposing the use of force to achieve goals, creativity, entrepreneurship and trade follows, allowing their society to flourish.
He wanted to leave our warrior days behind us and build up a prosperous economy. Now instead of warring with our neighbours, we focus on innovation and trade to help our people.
With this alternative outlook, the individual seeks to gain values, to benefit themselves and deal with others voluntarily towards mutual advantage. It's this mindset that transforms Gingerbread Land from an impoverished wasteland to a vibrant market economy by the second film. The single mistake the Grizzlies make, however, is their complete pacifism. After spending the best part of a day together, Miss Coconuts has begun to fall for Lockjaw, only for him to reveal that he's gay and inspired him into wanting a sex change. He later wants to reconsider, knowing they are the last of humanity, with the conventional expectation being that the story demands they fall in love and have children. Miss Coconuts, however, wants nothing to do with it. Towards the end of the movie, Lockjaw and Miss Coconuts learn the truth of what happened to humanity when the antagonist Vlad is introduced. After granting Lockjaw's wish to transform him into a gingerbread man, he reveals the truth of what happened to mankind and where the ugly bastards came from. Vlad explains that his father's biotech company, in collaboration with Western governments, used knowledge of genetic engineering to experiment on convicts. The purpose was not to improve the human gene pool but to modify it, eventually changing Homo sapiens into the mindless and vicious ugly bastards. It was rationalized that in order to combat climate change effectively, the planet's dominant species needed to be replaced by a primitive creature without the characteristic of reason and need to modify its environment in order to survive. When Lockjaw points out that non-human species such as the grizzlies of Fuzzville had essentially become humanity's successors, Vlad rationalizes that they too must face extinction.
Sacrifice is necessary in order to achieve a greater good, my friend. A cause something much bigger than yourself. Life is, and has always been, expendable.
After the final battle and death of Vlad, Lockjaw saves Miss Coconuts from death using Vlad's machine to turn her into a gingerbread woman, but before they go out into the world to fight off the ugly bastards, he reveals his transformation has completely altered his sexuality. Yes, insane.